So one of the things we need to deal with first is how we develop the infrastructure to be able to exchange goods amongst ourselves. Already, most countries are allowing free movement of people. And so if we have free movement of goods and services across the continent, I think that it will fill a huge gap in South-South trade, and that will benefit all our countries. I was just reading, U.S. farmers are beginning to complain because USAID was the biggest mopper of excess food for food aid to Africa. And USAID is not doing the auctions that mops up the excess U.S. food. And so the U.S. farmers are complaining. But it's an opportunity for Africa to increase food production. And so if that aid stops coming, we would do the investments that are necessary to make our farmers more productive so that we can establish food security in Africa instead of waiting for those US aid handouts to come.
I love what John Mahama is trying to do, the president of Ghana. I love how he's trying to face off or how he's trying to act upon the aid cuts of USA by Donald Trump, okay? The US aid and each and every aid that's coming from America. But the only thing I don't love is he is telling them our secrets. He's somewhere in Bayern Munich, I think in Germany, maybe, because the video I'm going to show you of John Mahama talking about how African countries will cope up with these aid cuts. But he was being surrounded by white people. That's just the one thing that I don't like on that video, but everything that Mahama said is good. And we know Trump put some restrictions, he cut some aid, stopped US aid, and at one point or the other, US aid was helping African countries, those African countries, most of African countries that were not generating wealth for themselves, they are just waiting for help, and we call beggars, like our leaders are literally beggars, most of them. It's only Ibrahim Traore that has come, and he is showing that he want to stop this begging. And you to stop begging as a leader of a country or as a country, we have some measures that you need to take, and you need to take bold decisions so that you stop the begging. Most of the leaders, they don't like begging, but you are forced to do that. The systems that are there, you are forced to do that. So it's only you to go against the system so that you can stop this begging. Now, I want you to see this video of John Mahama talking about how Africa will cope up, African countries, or how he will tackle these issues. And I love it. And I think Trump was shocked with this. And a lot of leaders who are beggars are shocked with this. Let's watch, and then we'll come back again and talk about it.
I was just reading, U.S. farmers are beginning to complain because USAID was the biggest mopper of excess food for food aid to Africa. And USAID is not doing the auctions that mops up the excess U.S. food. And so the U.S. farmers are complaining. But it's an opportunity for Africa to increase food production. And so if that aid stops coming, we would do the investments that are necessary to make our farmers more productive so that we can establish food security in Africa instead of waiting for those US aid handouts to come.
Now, before we continue, when US aid is being stopped, when that food stopped to come to Africa, it's an opportunity for Africa to think how to produce more food. That's the saying, or what John Mahama is saying. I loved that. I love that part. But again, is it really, do you want to be threatened so that you can wake up? You know, like, oh, come on, African countries, the leaders, you know, like you are capable of producing a lot of food in Africa, but is it a must that this US aid have to stop so that you can realize, oh no, we need to, oh, we have lands, oh, we can cultivate, we have, let's continue.
We spoke about it in the context of aid, and you mentioned it in trade. Let's talk about what this, and to use the phrase here, multipolarization, what is the new system that you would want to create, both for trade and aid, assuming that the US is doing what it's doing? What is everyone else going to need to do now?
Well, self-reliance is not only at the national level, but on the continental level. And there's good news coming out of Africa, like she said. We signed, most countries have ratified the protocol on continental free trade in Africa. And that trade is beginning to grow steadily. We're able to export tariff-free into our countries. Of course, there are obstacles because our trade channels have been the colonial trade channels between us and Europe and not amongst ourselves. So one of the things we need to deal with first is how we develop the infrastructure to be able to exchange goods amongst ourselves. Already, most countries are allowing free movement of people. And so if we have free movement of goods and services across the continent, I think that it will fill a huge gap in South-South trade, and that will benefit all our countries.
And do you think that the actions of the Trump administration will accelerate Africans' determination to do this? Will it finally actually happen, the African Free Trade Area?
Definitely it will. Definitely we will learn to be more self-reliant as a continent and to trade more amongst ourselves, because there's a lot of room there for expanding trade.
Is that something that you think would also happen with Brazil, that there would be extra efforts to have free trade areas with other groups, that there would be a focus, a sort of ex-US focus on?
Well, I haven't seen China invest in those areas in many parts of Africa. I don't know if it's a policy they would decide to adopt, but for now, they might fail up at the multilateral level. I mean, if US decided to cut assistance to some of the UN organizations that are doing critical work in Africa, I mean, powers like China, India, and others might say, look, we're going to fill up to those gaps, but I don't see them going in individual countries into those particular areas. Cooperation with different segments of the world are specialized, and so with the US, it's been in governance, it's been in education, healthcare, and all that. Cooperation with China is more in infrastructure and investments, and so building that road, building that railway. Cooperation with India is in agriculture and agribusiness. With Brazil is with supply of agricultural equipment and machinery. And so, I mean, we have multifaceted international cooperation with different parts of the world. And so when I say US soft power, is because USAID is very visible in Ghana. And the programs it runs, are programs that project US as a caring nation. And so if we're able to close that gap and shut that out, we'll still have cooperation with different countries. Maybe some European nations might decide to step in and say, look, we're prepared to fill this gap. It's not too large. $156 million really is not a huge pot of money, but it buys US a lot of, recognition for the work that it does. But we are prepared to fill that gap. And like I said, it must teach us to be more reliant. I believe that leadership counts. African nations must show leadership. I must say that we also have responsibility as leaders of African countries to show that we can be less wasteful in how we spend our money, and we should be able to make those adjustments. I mean, just looking at the budget, there are many places that we can cut where we wasted resources before, that we can bring into areas that are of more priority than they have. So there's a responsibility on us to also make the kind of adjustments that help to fill gaps like trade growing exponentially amongst African countries. And I believe that Africa has the human resource. We have young, bright people who are willing to grab innovation, and we need the leadership to drive that energy to make our countries prosper. But I do believe, as a student of psychology, that in all adversity there's opportunity, and new orders spring out of disruption. The disruption that is taking place now is going to yield a new order, because we'll have to adapt to what is happening.
Welcome back. I don't know why he was sitting around white people saying how Africa is going to tackle this issue. No, I've never seen a white president or a president from Western countries sitting in a panel of black people saying how he's going to make France work or how he's going to make USA work. I don't know why Africa, we are still in this era, but again and again, let's continue. Now, USA or USAID, which is United States Agency for International Development, was important to African countries because it was helping, and again, it had negative impact to African countries. Now, it was helping in health and disease prevention, like HIV and AIDS programs. We had malaria prevention, food security and agriculture. And I wonder how USA was involved in the effort to improve food security in Africa. While Africa, we have the capability to grow our own crop production, to promote sustainable farming practices in our own countries, but USAID was coming here. When we had a crisis in Africa, they will be coming with food and giving to people and medicines. And when you talk about medicine, I can say, okay, we don't produce this but when you talk about food security and agriculture, come on, my African president, this is something that is letting us down. Yeah, United States is coming in and helping people with food who are starving with hunger, and we Africans, we are here. Uganda, we have a lot of food. Rwanda, we have a lot of food. Some countries are rich, but I think you know why this USAID is here. Okay, why there is insufficient food is because of these countries, the West countries, and now they'll be bringing their aid here, and we will be saying and seeing their name, USAID is helping us, USAID is helping us, but literally they are the one who started the problem. Now, USAID was helping in economic growth and development, like to promote economic growth by supporting small businesses, fostering entrepreneurship, and creating job opportunities on youths and women's. Another thing that USAID was of importance to African countries is education and workforce development, governance and democracy, humanitarian assistance and crisis response, climate change and environmental sustainability, peace and security, partnership and collaboration. And when these things that I've mentioned, like peace and security, these problems are started by their countries, like a USA, France. You cannot start something and you have started a fire and then you are coming with the fire extinguisher. So we'll be celebrating you that you are the one who ended that fire. But in the real sense, you started the fire. It's political. You are starting political war. You are starting groups to fight, and then you'll be coming with medicine, so that people will sing your name, that you are the one who have helped us. When you talk about humanitarian assistance, which humanitarian assistance that you are giving to us? I don't see that. Because when you talk about food aid and shelter, health care, psychological support, you are creating these problems. You are creating this food insecurity. You are creating these diseases. We have bad health care because of you. First of all, you are exploiting. By exploiting our countries, by doing illegal mining, you are ruining our environmental or climatic change. And then you'll be coming here and speaking about climatic change. Who does that? It's only you, colonizer. You can do something like that because you are enslaving us and you are helping us at the same time. You are bringing education and you are enslaving us. So it's like you are doing nothing. We know what you want to do, because when you talk about economic growth, which economic are you growing? Yeah, that's if these things could be really working, this US aid could be really helping, just helping truly and 100%, we could not have poverty in Africa. We could not have children that are not going to school, food insecurity, because these whole things could have changed. But you are creating problem 100%, you are helping 10%. You will come again and ruin 100%. You'll be ruined I know you understand what's going on with this. So for me, I'm happy that USAID, maybe the aids has been cut so that our African leaders can wake up. And this is the thing that Ibrahim Traore has been fighting for, has been calling for every day, that we as African countries, we need to depend on ourselves, because we don't know when we send these Westerners countries away, when we send colonizers away, we need to stand for ourselves, because we cannot send them away and we cannot feed our children. Okay? And that's why a lot of countries, they don't want to talk about colonizer. They don't talk about the supremacy. They don't want to talk about their white countries, like the colonizer who colonized them, because they are still eating from they are still being fed. These countries are feeding them. The leaders can't talk. Okay? And cutting aid in Africa can be an issue. Okay? It's an issue, and we have has caused a lot of negative impact to the people. But on this note, we have positive impact that comes with cutting edge, just like what Mahama said. It gives us mind now to start producing our own food. We call it self-sufficiency. It encourages self-sufficiency. And the idea behind cutting aid is that it might push African countries to become more self-reliant. Reducing reliance on external aid could encourage government to strengthen local economies and foster entrepreneurship and build sustainable industries. Now, if you are still in your father's house, you are still sleeping there freely, you are not paying rent, you are eating free, drinking free, your mind become blocked. You will never think, some miles ahead or some meters ahead, because at the end of the day I'll be sleeping, I'll be eating. So when you get a little money, you go gamble. When you get little money, you just waste it, because you don't know how hard it is to get these things. But when your father has told you, now, son, it is time for you to go in the city, go and hustle, go and live in your own house, have freedom. Yeah, that's where you will know how hard it is. So you will start creating ideas in your mind how you are going to come up with food, how you are going to come up with shelter, how you are going to come up with water. So as a man, as a woman, you will know how to hustle. And now this is self-sufficiency. Now African countries must learn how to hustle for food, how to hustle for medicine, how to hustle for economic growth, how to hustle for educational growth, how to hustle to deal with climatic change. They need to self-sufficiency, because we have been relying on these foreign countries for long until our mind is stagnant. We don't know what to do. Some countries are crying, oh, Trump was cut. Oh, please do this. No. We are not paying taxes there. We are paying taxes here. So if we use our taxes to run the country now, it is time for you to show us what you got. Cutting aids will reduce dependency, because long-term aid can create a dependency culture where government or communities rely too much on external support. Cutting aid could push nations to focus on internal solutions. As I've just told you, more depending on your father will just make you rely on that, and you cannot think. So by cutting aids, it will reduce dependency, and that's what we want as Pan-Africans and Africans. That's what we want. Okay, cutting aids will improve accountability. Now, without the safety net of aid, government may be forced to be more accountable for the citizens. The theory is that aid might sometimes enable corrupt practices or weak institutions, and the absence of it could drive reforms to improve governance and reduce corruption, which is right. Because now when you steal that money, your country is going down, and the people will hold you accountable. Even your parents will call you, hey, oh yeah, what's happening in the country? We are dying. So, an example. When you have a lot of meat in the pot, even if you take 10 of the pieces, nobody will know, nobody will question, your parent will not know. But when you have only that 10 meat on the pot, or you have 2 meats in the pot, if it gets lost, you are you. They will know it's you. So you'll be held accountable. That's the example we are trying to say here. I don't know if you understand that. Now, cutting aid will make us focus on local solutions. Yeah, like Ibrahim Traore did, taking machineries, tractors, agriculture, just making sure that the farmers are having good technology to produce a lot of, crops and food security in the country. We'll have solutions on how to have water. We'll have solutions on how to provide our children with food and good education and health. So cutting these aids will make you start critical thinking, looking for solutions for your own. Cutting aids will help better allocation of resources, because the aid often doesn't reach those who need it most due to maybe corruption, misuse of funds. Now, without aid, resources might be better allocated within countries, either through better governance and more targeted local investment. This is where we need good governments. This right now, when this aid are no more, is where we need good governance. When you get good governance at this time, we'll have a better country. It's important to note that, however, that these arguments are debated of whether AIDS is good for the people, cutting AIDS is good or it is negative. But some are opposing, some are supporting. But those who are supporting, let me tell you, who are supporting the aid cutting, those who want the betterment of the country, don't say that is bad. Like John Mahama, those who want to send the foreign out of the countries. We want self-reliance. But those who are opposing this aid cut, they are those who are corrupt leaders, depending on this. They are those leaders who they don't know what to do next when these things are gone. They are just corrupted. They are beggars. They don't want to work for the people. They don't want new challenges for the country. They are just there. So by cutting this aid, it is making a life hell of them. Making decision is hard because they have, some leaders are there on the seat. They even don't know how the country is being run, because somewhere the colonizer is running the country indirectly. He doesn't know. At the end of the day, he's given his cut and he's gone after 5 years. So I support what John Mahama is saying, but the fact that he is sitting around these white fellows, it is terrifying. But tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. Do you think cutting of aid is for betterment of Africa, or Africa will go down? Tell me what you think. Until next episode, peace be with you.